Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering something impossible. Every piece of DNA inside your body is gone. Not damaged, not mutated, not changed. Gone. Your skin still exists. Your heart is still beating. Your brain is still working. You can still breathe. For a moment, everything looks completely normal, but your body has just lost the biological instructions that helped build and maintain you. Welcome to Sarah Science, where impossible science becomes simple. So, what actually happens if every human suddenly loses all their DNA? Let's find out. Your DNA is not just a blueprint for what you look like. It is more like an enormous instruction library inside almost every cell in your body. It contains the information needed to make proteins, control cellular activity, repair damage, and produce new cells. And right now, your body is constantly using that information. Your cells are reading sections of DNA and producing RNA. That RNA helps create proteins. Those proteins keep your cells alive and allow your organs to function. So imagine that, in one instant, every DNA molecule in your body simply disappears. The first thing that happens is surprisingly strange. You probably would not instantly collapse. Your cells already contain millions of proteins and other molecules. Your heart muscle already has the machinery needed to contract. Your brain already has electrical signals moving between neurons. Your lungs already contain the structures needed for gas exchange. So, for a short time, much of your body could continue functioning using molecular machinery that was already there. But there is a massive problem. Your cells can no longer make many of the proteins they will eventually need. Without DNA, there is no original genetic template to keep producing fresh instructions. Existing RNA molecules would continue working for a while. Existing proteins would continue doing their jobs. But molecules do not last forever. They break down. They become damaged. And normally, your cells replace them. Without DNA, that replacement system begins to fail. Your cells would essentially be running on their remaining supplies. Think of it like a factory where every machine is still running, but the instruction database has suddenly vanished. At first, production continues. Then machines begin breaking down, and there is no longer a reliable way to build replacements. The damage would become especially serious in cells that divide frequently. Your bone marrow, for example, constantly produces new blood cells. Your intestinal lining is constantly renewed. Your skin continually replaces old cells. Without DNA, producing new cells becomes impossible because new cells normally need copies of the genome. So your body's ability to repair itself would collapse. But there is another terrifying problem. DNA is also essential for controlling how cells respond to changing conditions. Your cells constantly switch genes on and off. They adjust metabolism. They respond to stress. They repair damage. They communicate with other cells. Without DNA, those long-term control systems would progressively break down. Your body would not simply become an empty shell. It would be a living system, slowly losing its ability to maintain itself. And your brain would face a particularly frightening situation. The electrical activity of neurons does not require you to constantly read your entire genome every second. So existing brain activity could continue temporarily. You might still be conscious. You might still see. You might still hear. You might still think. But maintaining neurons over time requires constant molecular repair and protein production. As that system deteriorates, brain function would eventually become increasingly unstable. And there is an even bigger question. What happens to reproduction? If DNA disappeared from reproductive cells as well, sperm and eggs would lose their genetic information. No genome means no normal genetic inheritance. Even if the rest of the reproductive system remained physically intact, the information required to create a genetically complete new human would be missing, and the effects would not stop with individual people. Imagine every human on Earth losing their DNA simultaneously. Hospitals would become overwhelmed. Blood cells would stop being replenished. Tissues would lose their ability to regenerate. Medical treatments that depend on cells producing new proteins would become increasingly useless. And future generations would face an even more fundamental problem. There would be no human genome left to pass forward. But here's the strangest part. You would not necessarily notice the disappearance immediately. There would be no giant explosion, no flash of light, no sound in the sky. You could be standing in your room, walking down a street, or watching this video, and for a short period, the world could look completely normal. The catastrophe would happen invisibly, inside trillions of cells. That is what makes DNA so extraordinary. You rarely think about it. You cannot see it with your eyes. You do not consciously control it. Yet tiny molecules inside your cells contain an enormous amount of information that helps your body continuously maintain itself. So if every human suddenly lost all their DNA, humanity would not simply lose its appearance. It would lose the molecular information required to keep replacing, repairing, and reproducing its living cells. The human body might continue for a while using everything it had already built, but eventually, the biological machinery would begin running out of instructions. And once those instructions are gone, there is no simple reset button. Your body is not just made of matter. It is matter organized by information. And DNA is one of the most important places where that information is stored. So the next time you look at your own hands, remember this. Inside almost every cell is an incredibly tiny molecule carrying information that helps your body remain you. And if that information suddenly vanished, the consequences would be far more terrifying than simply forgetting who you are. If this made you see your own body differently, like this video, subscribe to Sarah Science and leave a comment telling you what impossible science scenario should be explored next, because there are still countless strange possibilities hiding inside the universe, and you might not want to find out what happens until you see it here.